Hello everyone, welcome to Java Tutorials. My name is Kishore. In this video, we will discuss how to have natural ordering in products. Means, whenever I sort the product which is present in the list, I can use comparator like this, which we discussed in our previous example, where this sort is sorting through comparator based on price, and next sort is comparing the products based on ratings and it is sorting. But is it possible that we can sort in natural order, like to have a default sorting technique like we had in the list of numbers, where I can actually use just a sort method that is going to take only list as a parameter? In that case, what happens when this is the order of elements? Then by default, the sort method is going to sort the list of numbers in ascending order, correct? How it is possible is because every wrapper class implements one interface called comparable, and don't get confused with comparator. Comparator is not going to be implemented in the class whose objects you want to sort. Comparator is implemented in a separate class or outside the class object you want to compare, like the way we did in the previous example, like creating lambda expressions or creating a separate class or creating anonymous class. But the comparable is something which you implement in the same class whose instance you want to sort. That is integer, or you take string also as an example. Even string also implements comparable. Most of the classes whose data are a little bit simple, like a local date. Even you can use local date also. Even local date also implements comparable. Here it might be not implementing comparable, but what you can check is you need to go and look for the super type. Like see, chrono local date, which is implemented by local date, is actually extending the comparable. It means this comparable interface is what you need to implement if you want to provide a natural sorting technique without using comparator. And it has only one method, that is compare to, that is the abstract method, and it takes only one parameter because you are going to implement only in the same class whose instance you are going to compare. Let me try to compare the product so that it should have a natural ordering. So these things, what I will do, I will just remove, make sure that you have this print elements method, which is printing the product objects, and it is printing. But I want like this, where the way how the numbers are sorted by just passing the single parameter. If I pass the list, it doesn't actually sort, it rather gives an error. Why it gives error? Because the product is not implementing comparable. However, if I pass the two parameter like two product objects and then something like 0, then it won't be an error. Look at this. Anyway, this is not a right implementation of comparator. The second parameter is going to tell how the product should be compared. But if I remove the second parameter, then the product should tell the sort how it has to be compared, and product should implement comparable. So what is the difference between comparable and comparator is, the comparable is done on the same class whose instance you would sort, and it has one method called compare to method which takes only one parameter, whereas comparator is done outside the class which is going to be used for sorting. And it is like you are going to use anonymous implementation or lambda expressions, where you are going to have the compare method with two parameters. So you would use comparable whenever you want natural sorting technique. And look at this error, which will disappear the moment I implement comparable in the product class. And I need to implement this compare to method. Let me go to the product class. Just observe the 17th line showing the error will disappear. And let me say implements, remember you need to implement comparable, not comparator, because comparator is done outside the product class or whichever the class object you want to compare, that you will be implementing with comparator outside. And in the place of t, you should give the product so that compare to method knows it has to compare which instance. And you need to add that one method, that is compare to method, and you just select that add unimplemented methods and scroll down, you see the compare to method. And here it is taking product as a parameter because you are saying comparable is product type. Now, what is this return going to do? This return has to just return an integer value to the sort method. So that sort method will arrange the elements. And I want you to show the error which disappeared here. Now, the list which you are sorting is actually not having error because the sort method knows that the list of product is actually comparable type. Either you pass two parameters or you pass only one parameter, but when you pass one parameter, that list should have the item that is implementing comparable. For simple types, by default, comparable will be implemented. You take any number type classes like integer, double, or you take string or local date. They all are of comparable type, but product was not comparable type. That's why it was throwing error. Now let us go and implement how I should implement this is the compare method of comparator was taking two parameter, but compare to takes only one parameter. You just need to have like this dot, let's say I want to compare based on the price. So I can just write integer dot compare. Two parameters we need to pass here because compare method needs two values. So I will pass the ratings and o dot get ratings. So what is the meaning of this? The meaning is very simple. 1 minute. Uh, what is this? We are passing. Okay, ratings and get ratings should be double. So the meaning is simple. It will pass the current object ratings and already sorted object ratings. Means assume that we have two products. So first product one and product one only will be sorted. First means product one and product one only will be compared. The very first object, a pivot element we need to get. So if P1 and P1 is to be sorted, first P1 dot ratings, let's say P1 ratings is 4.4, and again get ratings is going to be P1 ratings only, the same object rating. So 4 minus 4.4 minus 4.4 will give 0. So it is going to compare P1 and P1 only. So that is going to be equals to 4 minus 4.4 minus 4.4, which gives the value 0. Next, let's say P1 is already having the value 4.4, correct? Let me write now P2, whose product rating is 4.3. Then what it does is it is going to get the current object rating 4.3 minus already sorted element it will supply, that is 4.4, whose which is the pivot element, that is 4.3 minus 4.4, which is going to give us the negative value, correct? That way it will arrange. Now negative means it should go towards the left side of the pivot element, so that 4.3 rating comes first, then 4.4 will come. That way it is going to sort the ratings in ascending order. Now you already know how this subtraction is done by the compare method, and what happens if it is a negative value, what happens if it is a positive value, what happens if it is a zero. In the previous video it has been already explained. Now compare to method is implemented, and when the sort method is going to take the list, and then if we print the elements of list, what happens is the first product is having the sequential order of this. The second list is displaying the ratings in sorting order, that is from less value to higher ratings value. But what is the difference between comparable and comparator means you can have one natural ordering. You cannot have multiple natural ordering. So something which has to be natural that needs to be sorted, like probably you can sort ID also. By default, you have the product to sort the ID in ascending order, and remaining things like ID to be in descending order, name, price, ratings in ascending and descending both. All such custom sorting techniques you implement in comparator. So you can use comparator to customize different sorting technique, and you use comparable for one natural ordering technique. So you can have a natural ordering on any of the property. Basically on ID, if you have, it will be better, because most of the times if it is an employee object or customer object, based on ID only they will sort in ascending order, and remaining way of sorting you do it in comparator. So these are the differences you get when you use comparable and comparator. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.